This story begins with Shimura, a boy from a poor family whose mother was very ill. Worst of all, his classmates they took advantage of him. One of them was a very famous streamer. On screen, he seemed like a good person, but in reality, he was a thug who tortured poor Shimura. His channel generated a lot of money, but he didn't give him a single penny. Although Shimura constantly appeared in his broadcasts, the boy's life was miserable, but he didn't complain to his mother, but he remained strong and even smiled. He worked at a fast food restaurant, but that one day a new girl arrived. Her name is Amila, and she is unparalleled beauty. Later, Hamilton arrived at the location to do a live stream where he asked for her number. She refused to participate, but he kept insisting. Thankfully, Shimura gathers his courage and steps in front of her. He thanks Sammy for saving her, which makes him very happy. But when he goes out to throw the trash, the bullies appear and beat him up for being nosy. In the next scene, we meet Aki, the new first-year girl who is ostracized by her classmates bullied her for being a bit odd. She had just returned to the country, and because of that, her classmates took advantage of her. The situation escalated to such an extreme that he prefers to skip classes. At night, Shimura prepares videos for Kinigon. He was using his computer to make transmissions. Furthermore, he was using his mother's bank account to receive the money. But when it came time to serve her the noodles, Shimura tripped over he unplugged the cable and turned off the computer. The bully was furious and attacked Shimura. At that moment, he began to reflect on why. He lets that loser beat him up in his own house. That's where he decides to defend himself for the first time and realizes that fighting wasn't so difficult. If they're going to hit you anyway, you should at least defend yourself. After the fight, Shimura sees his mother's bill. She needed more than 3 million yen to pay for her treatment, but with his salary, that was impossible. In the morning, Kanagon calls him. He tells him that the fight was recorded and uploaded to the internet, so she tells him to go delete the video. When he gets to school, he thinks no one should have seen it, but as the fight went viral, memes were everywhere. Because of that, the bully told Kanagon they weren't friends anymore because he lost the weakest kid in the class. This devastates him because he was the bully's producer, and to be called that, he doesn't think that's fair, since his channel grew a lot thanks to him. That's why he proposes a deal to Shimura. Since he no longer has anything to lose, he's going to let him go. Even if they lose, they have everything to gain. So they'll open a new channel where they'll expose the real Hamilton in a live broadcast. Shimura was terrified, but Kanigon promised to pay him 10,000 yen. So he had no choice but to accept. In the thug's broadcast, Shimura takes out his cell phone and reveals the whole truth, but the thug was an expert and cut off the transmission just in time. Then he starts beating him up. Apparently, there are no teachers at that school because none of them appear despite the noise. Luckily, Aji, a boy, arrives from the next room, who is a professional wrestler. He tells the bully to shut up, and the scared bully obeys. Then Shimura wakes up in the infirmary. There he learns what happened. The good news is that they have over 1 million views. The bad news, they only earned 3,500 yen. The producer tells them that's because the video is too short. If they managed to broadcast the longer he fought, the more money he would earn. Shimura no longer wanted to fight, but he needed to earn a lot of money. The producer tells him that's the fastest way. If he can hold out a few more minutes, he can pay for his mother's hospital bill. So they agree to stand up to the thugs. That way they would go viral and, consequently, make a lot of money at night. The protagonist starts researching how to last longer and he fights, but nothing he tries seems to work until he reads one of the comments on his channel. Someone sends him a link explaining how to fight. Clicking on it brings up a very strong man with a chicken head. He promises to give you the secret to winning a fight, but Shimura thinks it's a hoax, so he goes to sleep. But at midnight he has a dream about the chicken-headed man, so he decided to watch the video to the end. The next day, the killer had seen his video and was furious. He wanted to get rid of Shimura in front of everyone, but the producer had already planned it. He had started streaming secretly in order to monetize it, but the beating didn't last long enough. So Shimura, he stands up. If they're going to hit him anyway, at least let it be for money. When it comes to fighting, he puts into practice what he learned. First, you must remain calm. Second, make your opponent lose control. Third, a blow it hurts more with the full range of motion, so you have to get ahead of yourself to make it hurt less. But that's where the video ended, and Shimura doesn't know what else to do. Before the thug delivers a final blow, Aki arrives and threatens to expose him. The thug calms down for a moment, then they give him the thank you for saving them. She had seen Shimura's videos and liked them a lot, so she proposed that they join the team as her editor. The producer accepts because he found her very beautiful. Then the three of them choose a new name for their channel. That's how they agree to call it Viral Hit. Since they now have to train, Shimura asks for a leave of absence from his eye work to get the manager to agree. I tell San Miguel they could divide the work, so they form a line group. On the way home, some supposed fans approach the boys, but they were actually criminals who just wanted to rob them. The producer knew something like this would happen, so he had started broadcasting. Shimura needed a lot of money, so he went to the criminal to ask for his cell phone. He mocks them and tells them he'll beat them live. Shimura had seen the next video, so now he knew how to win a fight. First, position yourself on the opposite side of your opponent's dominant hand. Then, focus on their shoulders. Next, move around to tire them out. With his technique of absorbing blows without pain, he manages to win without throwing a single punch. He wins by taking blows to the head and hand from his enemy. She ends up hurt. He gives up and returns her phone. That's how another successful broadcast ended. Then something happened a month later. The boys received their first payment. The producer wanted to split it, but she tells him she doesn't want the money, just being part of the team. The producer, on the other hand, wanted to receive 90% of the profits. So Shimura, he tells him he earns more money at his job, and they don't beat him up there. In the end, he manages to turn things around. He keeps 90% and the producer gets 10%. In the next scene, we see that the protagonist felt bad because his mother had very old clothes. When she looked for something to give her, it was too expensive. Luckily for her, by the later, the unthinkable happens. Samaya, the girl of his dreams, asks him out. He was fascinated and couldn't believe it. The producer and Aki had followed them so they could broadcast their battle with love. But some boys from the next mass were murmuring loudly that a girl like her couldn't be with a Shimura could hear them. And although he didn't want to, he thought the same thing because he had never had them before a date, much less in such an expensive cafe. All of this made him feel very bad, and Samila noticed how uncomfortable she was there. Luckily, Aki gets up and tells the boys to be quiet. Seeing that everything is going wrong, she tells Samila that they should go to their walk outside. Aji calls her to tell her he's nearby. Apparently, the two of them were very good friends. So, to continue in the conversation, Shimuya tells him that they are also good friends. When he arrives, he's afraid that Aji will betray him, but Aji plays along and agrees. They're friends. He even watches their broadcast from time to time. Meanwhile, the producer kept recording. Seeing how well they get along, Shimuya thinks that he's superfluous, so he tells him his toenail hurts and then runs off. Then he confronts the producer for recording him without his permission. The producer apologizes, but tells him it's pathetic. Love is just like a fight where the woman you love is the prize. So she encourages him not to throw in the towel. She tells him that a fight isn't over until he gives up. Shimura gets brave and goes after his girl, even though the producer only said so to keep filming. But before that, just as Shimura is about to confess, the thug arrives to exact his revenge. Furthermore, since Samaya was with him, he takes her away. Let him see everything. Shimura tries to provoke him to defeat him again, but the thug doesn't fall for it twice trick. His tactics no longer work against him. So, defeated, he watches his life flash before his eyes. Things were going well, but the thug brought him back to reality. Because of this, Shimura gives up and begs for mercy. He also begs him to please let Samila go. The thug replies that he will only do so if he takes off his clothes. He has no other choice. So he agrees, just so they'll leave the girl of his dreams alone. But to get banned, he wants to drop his pants and show off his titan. That way he'd lose his channel with almost 500,000 subscribers or followers. But before he can do so, Aji arrives, who beats up the thugs and doesn't say a single word. The bully is afraid of him, so he leaves without another word. Then Aji takes Samia away because Shimura couldn't look him in the eye, as he felt too ashamed. Days later, the bully broadcasts again, this time revealing his true self. To his surprise, many people watch and celebrate his return. The producer was the one paying the price. Shimura, for his part, didn't even go to work. Asami was already very worried about him, so he called. Oji goes to ask him if he knows anything. He tells him that they hurt his dignity. That's why no one can help him. It's something that only he can retrieve it. Because of that, he goes to his house to look for him. But Shimura was so embarrassed that he didn't come out. There meets Aki. She tells him that she also wants to find him because she thinks he's an amazing person and feels he can help more people like him. He helped her. In the next scene, we see the thug force Kinigan to speak ill of Shimura. He claims that his greedy weakling wanted something for money. That's precisely why the thug promises to relay it to Shimura so he can say it himself. Then he threatens the producer, tells him he must get his son back in school or he'll be the one to pay the price. Kanagon goes to the hospital where his son is mother. He asks if she knows where her son is. The lady is very happy to meet him because her son told her very much. He said he was his first best friend and that thanks to him he was happy to go to school. This achieved to move him deeply. Shimura, for his part, was contemplating jumping off a roof, but then he appears and tells him that do it right away. He says that would be best. Then Aki steps forward and jumps first, but it turns out there was a floor below. Then he tells Shimura to go back to broadcasting because his followers are increasing every day, but he doesn't think he can show his face after the humiliation. The next day, Aya was looking for Shimura. The bully was also looking for him. That's why he forces a producer, records a message asking him to show up. But Kanagon, for the first time, decides to be brave and asks his friend not to return to school. The thug hits him, but at that moment Shimura appears and asks the producer to start the broadcast. Apparently, the day on the rooftop brought him a new video, showed him how to win a fight. The first step was to toughen his body. The second was having the stamina to dodge them and keep moving. The third is technique. The best option for beating a stronger opponent was a low blow. But even though he used perfect technique, it didn't seem to have worked. The bully was still standing, but it did affect him. It made him lose his balance. But it wasn't enough to beat him. The bully was very strong and managed to hit him. Even so, Shimura gets up because the bully was the reason he became an outcast. When Hamakin tries to attack, his muscles fail him due to the kick. So Shimura takes advantage of this to deliver a downward hook. That's how he manages to win, with only 2 techniques and a lot of determination. After the victory, the producer thanks him for saving him, but Shimura tells him that it was actually to make his transmission and thus earn money. The product complains, but Shimura tells him he has no right to complain because he himself said it was a guy who would do anything for money. Then they start fighting like good friends. The next day, Shimura is admired by all his classmates. From that day on, Jamaken never returned to school. The producer, meanwhile, was jealous because his friend had become so popular, but here he tells him that he's cool in his own way too. In the next scene, Shimura goes to work to apologize for disappearing those days. He then also apologizes to Samila for having ignored. She replies that she understands and is grateful that he saved her, but promises that from now on she will be the one to save him. Later we learn that Samila was rich. Furthermore, his father was really demanding. He forbade his daughter from seeing boys he hadn't approved. The next day, the producer told him his channel had grown so much they were even comparing it to other channels with Battleos, a wrestling channel where everything seemed more like a show than a real fight. Because of that, the producer wants Shimura to fight a sumo wrestler to prove they're authentic. But Shimura wasn't crazy, so he told him he would fight if he could survive a round with one of them. Kanagon agreed, but then gave up because he didn't want to die. Since they have no rivals, he proposes holding a strategy meeting. But meanwhile, the producer was at a party where Rummy, a famous influencer, she had invited her. Her friends ask her to teach her their production secrets, so she has to join the hit viral channel. But Rummy had already recorded her password. When Aki tries to access the channel, the password doesn't work. That's why the guys call to tell them that they have an emergency. But Shimura was ambushed by 2 boys, who beat him up and only told him that he was a warning. Here he runs to find him, but when he finds him, the bad guys are gone. Then the three of them reunite. The producer doesn't want, he refuses to admit it was his fault, so he plays dumb. Apparently, Rummy's boss was responsible for everything. He was known as Mr. 244. The boys who attacked Shimura were part of his influencer agency. Here she wants to report them to the police, but the producer refuses because his content is violent and they could shut down his channel if they find out. So they must start fighting them to regain their account. In other words, they've just found their next opponent. Also, the chicken head has just uploaded a new video is titled, How to Beat Two Rivals at Once. In the next scene, we discover that Asamila's father was a hospital director, where Shimura's mother was hospitalized. That night, the boy finds the influencers. This time would be different. He seemed bigger and more he was strong, but it was all part of the strategy to win the fight. The first thing he had to do was intimidate them and appear bigger and stronger than they were. They did, but his deception was quickly exposed. He was using special templates and cardboard to make himself look bigger and more muscular. Then the boys, they begin to attack him. But now Shimura seemed to withstand the blows better, and one could even say he was excited to defeat his next opponents. Rivals. After running, he reaches a racetrack and uses its surroundings to wear down his rivals. In the end, he single-handedly managed to defeat both of his enemies. This is how you can recover your account. He then apologizes to his fans, and it's time to find his next opponent. Days later, Shimura visits his mother. He asks her what she thinks about streamers. She tells him it seems risky, and that it would be better to have a regular job. She had a date afterward. With Samila, they both have a great time together. Shimura wants to confess that he likes her, but in the end he chickens out and tells her he said it would be better another day. Days later, the producer found his new rival. His name is Shinjo, and he's a former Taekwondo champion. He doesn't want to face him here, so he asks him to cancel his proposal. But the boy was already, he's decided. He tells her that if she doesn't agree to fight, then they'll have to give her his channel. Shimura refuses to do it, but Shinjo kicks the producer and then attacks the editor until finally Shimura has to agree because he realizes that he can't beat him. But before giving him his channel, he must announce it in a video. Rummy, for her part, wanted to gain more followers. Her boss told her that she needed to accept more jobs. She was desperate, so she'd accept anything to gain more followers. Back with the boys, the producer confronts Shimura about handing over his channel so easily. He tells her he'd rather be dead than lose his channel. But what hurt him most was being so weak that he couldn't protect Aki. That night, Shimura was thinking about what his friend had told him. That's why, once again, he decided to be brave and told Shinjo that he'll hand over his channel if he can beat him within a month. The trusting man accepts his terms. Shimura decides to take takes a month's leave from his job. He wishes Sammy luck, and they promise to meet after his fight. Then he goes to Nogi to ask him how he could defeat a Taekwondo champion. He tells him he must avoid using his legs, but that would be difficult for a novice like him. On his way home, he runs into the owner of Bad Fellows. Mr. Kata proposes that he participate in his show, but Shimura says he's not interested. That night, the chicken head had uploaded and knew the video was titled, How to Beat a Taekwondo Wrestler. A month passes. Shimura was ready to defeat his next opponent. But as soon as he saw him, he ran to a secluded bathroom. There, he applied his new techniques which he learned. First, you must lead your opponent into a small space where they can't use their legs. But he hadn't counted on Shinjo, also knowing how to use his fists. Even so, Shimura had the advantage. He had special shoes that prevented him from slipping, and he also had new techniques to defeat him. When he manages to subdue him, he tries to compress his artery to knock him out, but Shimura had done it wrong, and his rival only pretended to be unconscious to be able to take off one of his shoes. That way he could use his feet. With his kicks, he was no match for him. Seeing him lie on the ground, he remembers as my friend, a boy from Bailo who was also bullied at school. Shinjo used to be a good kid who stood up for the weak and didn't cause any trouble until his friend lost his life. And that's when he became ruthless. Returning to the fight, Shinjo attacks Shimura, but Shimura keeps getting back up no matter how many times he tries. He hit him. Seeing that he doesn't give up, He can't help but think of his former best friend, since he was just as stubborn as Shimura. No matter how many times he was hit, he would just get back up standing. The producer asks him to stop, but Shimura says it's not over until he wins. Shinjo gets angry and he tries to kick him, but Shimura has a secret technique. So with a swift movement, he manages to turn him around and grabs him by the neck. That's how he manages to knock him out in just 10 seconds. But because of the adrenaline, Shimura won't let go, so his friends have to stop him from sending him to sand. Pedro. Here we discover Shinjo's true story. He wanted his friend to become stronger. That's why he trained him in Taekwondo. He gave away his championship watch. One day, a wicked man threatened him, and his friend went in Shinjo's place to protect him, but unfortunately, it ended up losing his life. Upon waking, the boy admits defeat, but warns him never to cross his path again. At the same time, Emila was worried Shimura is demanding that she stop being interested in men. She tells Sammy she'll stop seeing him, but he must forgive her mother's medical expenses. Shimura's. The next day, the boy goes to school. Now he had over 1 million subscribers, so he's very famous. Now everyone admires him. With his second paycheck, Shimura wanted to buy himself some shoes. Although he really needed them, he decided to buy him a cardigan to his mother. That night he was excited to confess his love to Samila, but unfortunately for him, his father had taken away his phone. At the same time, we see that Rumi had been forced to accept certain jobs. These jobs consisted of spending the night with rich old men who supposedly they sponsored her campaigns. One of them was Asamila's father, who speaks about his daughter while she is with Rumi. The next day, Shimura learns that Samia has quit, so he rushes to find her. But now she's the one hiding from him. Here we discover why was that pretty girl in love with Shimura? When they were children, they threw her keychain into a river. No one wanted to help her look for it, but Shimura went into the river, shoes and all. Although she found it, she couldn't give it back. The next day, Shimura's mother was hospitalized, but she arranged for the keychain to be returned to her. In that scene, the producer was very excited because Bad Fellows had contacted them. Apparently, they wanted to negotiate with them, but Shimura told him that they already rejected them. Even so, Cannon suggests he speak with them to at least hear their proposal. When they arrive with Mr. Kabata, he tells them he doesn't want to collaborate with them, but rather buy their channel. The boys reply that their channel is not for sale. Meanwhile, the father of the group meets with Shimura's mother to tell her that he will forgive all her debts, but she must promise that her son will never approach her daughter again, since such a boy would not benefit her. Future, the protagonist's mother rejects the offer because she cannot make that decision on behalf of her son. For their part, the boys face a new problem. Their channel had been suspended because Battleos and the platform where they streamed had formed an alliance. Changing the subject in the scene, we learned that Roy couldn't spend the night with a sponsor, and since he didn't like those little jobs, he wanted to quit. But Mr. 244, she says she can't do it unless she pays a fine. She threatens to go to police, but her boss has a video of a close friend of hers, so Rumi was trapped. Then she runs into the producer. Desperate, she tells him everything, but she can't go with the police for fear that they would release their video. Changing scenes, we see that Shimura's mother watched all of his videos. Because of that, she ended up fainting. Her son wants her to receive immediate medical attention. He promises to get the 3 million yen as soon as possible, but the doctor tells him that he needs a more delicate treatment that costs about 10,000 yen. Shimura doesn't have that much money, but the doctor tells him that the director offered to forgive all his debts, but his mother refused. When he wakes up, the Shimura's mother apologizes to her son for putting him in that situation, but tells him she's proud of his popularity, even though she doesn't like seeing him like that son fighting against other people. In the next scene, the producer tells his friends what he discovered. So the three of them go to visit Mr. Kabata. He tells them they should accept his offer, as it's their best chance to get their channel back. Shimura accepts without hesitation, but he wants to fight Mr. Kata. Furthermore, his fans will also fight alongside him. The one who receives the most donations will be the real winner. The man accepts his conditions, and so they agree to the fight. Later, here it goes with Shin to return his watch. He warns him not to mess with Mr. Kabata because he's really dangerous. The next day, a video of the producer drinking was leaked. Because he was underage, people criticized him, and the hit viral channel received a lot of hate. Mr. Quada was behind it all. That was their way of earning donations. Furthermore, the boys learned that he was a mixed martial arts champion. So Shimura didn't stand a chance against him. He also tells them that he was the one who killed Shinjo's friend and then framed him, making him extremely dangerous. That's why it would have been better to cancel the fight. But Shimura needed the money, so he was going to fight him. Days later, the hate was getting stronger and stronger. Even they found Shimura's house. Because of that, the producer decided to leave because he felt very guilty. Shimura wanted to find more videos of the chicken head, but his channel had disappeared. Here, he goes to Mr. Kabata to ask him to cancel the fight, but Mr. Kabata tells him it's too late to beg for mercy. At the same time, Amiya went over Shimura to ask him to stop fighting. He told him he didn't want to be hurt anymore, but Ver replied that he couldn't stop because he had started to enjoy it. Furthermore, it's not just for him, but also for his friends. She reveals to Sam that she was the one uploading the chicken head videos because she didn't like watching them. He remembers how they beat him, but he has no more videos. Those were all the ones on his memory card. Apparently, he found a chick keychain with videos inside, but she didn't know anything else. Meanwhile, Aki tells the bad guys that she will protect the hit viral channel, and that if they want to defeat them, she won't make it easy for them. She was really strong and managed to beat up the bad guys. Then she revealed to them that she was the real viral hit. Upon returning home, Aki's father had checked her room and knew everything that was happening, so he wanted to help them. In the next scene, we see Rummy goes to Mr. 244 to tell him she'll talk to the police. Her boss mocks her, but Rummy threatens. By going with Mr. Kabata, Mr. 244 tells her that he's the one who gives the orders. He uses naive girls like her to earn a lot of money. Furthermore, he warns her that he is much more dangerous, as he always eliminates anyone who gets in his way. The next day, Shimura goes to Aji to ask him to train him, but Aji refuses because it's too dangerous. However, his trainer reveals that he knows the chicken-headed man, though not it was him. It turns out the chicken head was AK's father. Shimura doesn't believe him because he looks skinny, but he reveals that he was a UFC champion, but he had retired a long time ago. He also tells her that he made those videos for his daughter. He didn't adapt well to life in the United States, and his only friend was a chick. When the chick died, she was afraid of being mistreated, so she made the videos so she could defend herself. After the story, Shimura's training begins. Aki's father trains and become a champion, but after his arduous training, he tells him that he will not be able to win because his opponent is an expert fighter and he is just a novice. That night, he calls the producer to tell him they need him. Without him, the team feels incomplete. The next day would be the big fight. The mother Shimura tells him he's sorry his son has to struggle to earn a living. Shimura replies that he actually likes it, that what he built is something that's great and makes him feel alive. His mother tells him that he must become stronger, so he doesn't get beaten up so much. Then, finally, the big day arrived. Shimura arrives early to prepare. He tells her that no matter how hard he tries, everything seems to get more complicated. She tells him to stop, think about the bad things, and focus on the good things he has accomplished. For example, he managed to save her. Then the big fight begins. Shimura leads a scarf her mother knitted for her was a big hit, but people were against her, so they could lose money on donations. Everyone was watching the fight, even her mother. The entire crowd seemed to be on Kibata's side, but Shimura didn't care. He just wanted to do justice for his friends. As the fight began, Mr. Kabata had the advantage. He was faster, stronger, and more experienced. That's why she tells him she'll hold back. So the fight doesn't end too quickly. At the same time, Ayla starts a live stream where she introduces herself as Hit's girlfriend, Viral. She claims that violence is never justified, but Shimura was bullied to such an extent that he had no other option but to raise your fists. Besides, he never fought anyone weaker than him, but always much stronger thugs, so they can't criticize him for defending themselves. After that, donations start to increase for the viral hit. At that moment, the producer arrives and tells him that this is his way of fighting. Furthermore, he had one last blow. Rummy posted an audio recording where Mr. 244 claims that Quada finished off the Shimura learned of a boy's death and blamed Shinjo for it. With this, Shimura can use a special trick to knock out Kata even if he loses a fight. He pours oil on himself, and his opponent can no longer grab him. At the same time, the father of the seed goes to her to confront her about the humiliation, but she gets tired of his mistreatment and gives him a good punch. Returning to the fight, Kabata loses control and attacks Shimura uncontrollably. He lands a hook, and it looks like he's knocked him out. Luckily, he manages to get up and the round ends. At this rate, Shimura wouldn't last long, but he had to hang on. Last round to reach the donation limit. When the fight starts, his opponent manages to land more punches. Even so, Shimura was already used to he took many blows. Thanks to that, he even managed to imitate Shinyo's kick. But his rival still had more experience and more strength, where the blow manages to knock him out. Luckily, Samila arrives and everyone shouts for him to get up, but he doesn't hear anything. Not yet, that's how she manages to read all the comments from her followers, so she gets up and keeps fighting. After that, the donations skyrocket and Shimura can now use a secret technique, a low blow followed by dirty, no-rules fighting. Thanks to that, he manages to knock him out, but loses the fight. Although they had agreed that donations would decide the winner, Hit ultimately won. Viral. Everyone was very happy, since Bill's hero had won. That's how the story ends.